Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested.
And it's Jeremy from Tested.
And a special guest today.
It's Will, who used to be from Tested.
That's right. Will is joining us because we need his extra hands, his cardboard crafting abilities, because today we'll be building Nintendo Labo.
Man, Norm, when they announced this, I was so excited. I think I may have been the only person on the internet, but it looked awesome.
We've actually previewed this
already.
We went to an event. Jeremy and I have done one of these, but it's out. There's two kits out right now.
We did 1.5. We built the RC car and a bit of the fishing game.
Which gave us a sense of how long it would take to put these together.
So these are going to go together real fast. Just take like 20 minutes and we're ready to play, right?
I think maybe the whole day.
What?
Yeah.
So these cost what, like $70?
That's right.
70 and 80.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
most of what you're paying for is the joy of the build.
Really?
Yeah. No, I'm not to say the games aren't deep and awesome too, but really what you're paying for is the experience of the build.
I want big blue fists. I want to punch buildings down.
Well,
That
then
may
this one's
be
for you.
possible.
Okay.
Right, so we have two sets right here. There's a variety kit, and then there's also the robot kit. Like Jeremy said, the robot kit's a little bit more expensive. This one has a bunch of what they're calling these Toy-Con controllers, cardboard pieces that you plug your Joy-Con controllers into. And let's just open it up and take a look.
So I bought the variety kit specifically to play with my kid, who's now 5 years old.
Yeah, it says 6+ on the top of the box.
Yeah, I think she can handle it. The robot kit looked like the robot would be physically too large for her to manage, so I passed on that for now. But it's the thing that I am most interested in. That's some good-looking cardboard.
Yep, so we already have, this is just waste cardboard.
Now be careful, when you do open yours, don't take all the cardboard out and start popping the pieces out, because you actually want to do them one at a time once you follow the instructions.
Oh my goodness, look at this.
This says remove the game card. Where's the game card, Norm?
Right here.
Oh, okay.
And you will need, of course, Nintendo Switch for this, with at least 2 of the Joy-Cons. But here it is, all the cardboard. It's a lot of sheets. It's pretty thin cardboard. It's not like the cardboard you think when you get like a Amazon package.
Like 2-ply or anything.
Right. And this is all easily punch outable.
It's almost like poster board, but not postery. Hey, do you think these things still taste bad?
I don't know.
There's a few extra parts over here. We got string and some grommets and some rubber bands. Nothing you couldn't replace if you lost it, but these are all exactly the right lengths, I imagine.
They're also color-coded, so you have black, green, blue, white, red, and gray.
So is that color-coded by
project.
Toy-Con?
By Toy-Con.
Okay.
Exactly. And so what we're going to do is pop all these boxes open, pop the cartridge into the Switch. The instructions are on there.
The instructions are pretty
terrible.
cool.
Yeah,
if I
interactive
remember.
instructions, 3D models, animations that play out, and we'll see how long it takes for us to put all these kits together and then play some of these games.
I'm saying most of the day.
Most of the day. We're starting, all right, 10 a.m. in the morning. We'll see when we finish. All right, it's not the end of the day. We finished building all the Toy-Cons.
Yeah.
I could do like 3-4 more of these things, no problem. Bring it on.
So when we load up the instructions, each of the Toy-Cons gives you an estimate for how long it'll take to build. Some of them can be very simple, like the RC car, ranging to the very most difficult. The piano, which that one said between 150 minutes to over 200 minutes, over 3 hours. And for the robot,
2 hours, 21 minutes.
for you.
For me.
Even though it said at least 3 hours.
Minimum 3
We
hours.
built very quickly. I think that they're giving you plenty of time if you want to build with your kids, but it's definitely doable to build them all in a day.
Yes. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because a lot of the joy is in the build process. So taking your time is a good idea. Plus, you don't have too many spare parts.
No. We could have obviously done a little bit better job of just reinforcing the folds, taking our time, and they definitely give you plenty of places to have breaks between each step.
They encourage it.
They do.
I also feel like if you're building the variety pack versus the robot, with the robot, there's not anything to do in between the build steps. Like you spend an hour and it says, hey, you should stop and take a break, but there's nothing you can play with at that point. Whereas with this, You can stop. You can do the mini robot. You can do the fishing pole. All the different things along the way, and you have things you can play with when you're done. So you're not just sitting there looking at a half-assembled thing that kind of sucks.
Right.
To our credit, we actually didn't break anything, and I think we built things to a pretty high degree of quality.
We'll find out when we try actually playing the games. So we went through all of it. It took us about 3.5 hours to build all of the variety kits. But right now, let's go through each individual Toy-Con, show you how it works, and do a little bit of playing testing.
Should we start at the beginning?
Let's start at the beginning. So this is the RC car, the simplest of the Toy-Cons. We've plugged in our Joy-Con controllers, slot them in perfectly. They're pretty rigid.
Simplest design.
Yes.
It's
And
just 2 pieces of cardboard, right?
it's moving.
Look at that.
That's pretty cool.
Left and right. And what if you hold them both? Straight. Well, straight in a direction.
You can dial that in though.
Right.
So that's right. You can press a button here and it lets you actually adjust the frequency range of each of these. So not only can you adjust the frequency here, which lets you calibrate the movement, the coolest thing I think is you get a view of the IR camera.
Right, so one of the Joy-Cons has an IR camera in it, right?
Yeah, it's in the base of the left controller, I think, right?
And it comes with a lot of this IR reflective tape that it can see.
Yeah, so if you put that in front of...
Is that how bright it is?
No, it's right there. It's that tiny dot, and I can switch onto an auto mode, and it'll track just that.
And now, is it trying to turn?
It's turning to track it.
Yeah, look at that.
That is super cool. This would have been the coolest toy in the world in like 1985.
Over here, little guy. Come on.
Remember the first time you saw an Aibo and it could do this?
Yeah, super neat.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you have 4 of these Joy-Cons, you can actually build 2 robots and go head-to-head and put a sticker on their tails and then have them chase each other.
So only one robot lives, one robot dies?
Or you can battle and knock them, knock them over.
What if you had 100 robots and you dropped them on an island?
Then you would try to get be the last one standing.
Yeah.
For your robot chicken dinner.
Pretty sure Nintendo's doing that at E3 this year.
Yeah, that's probably their thing. It's a good idea.
That's the RC car, the simplest one. Let's move on to the next thing, which is the fishing rod. So the fishing rod, which we had half assembled at the preview event we went to, really cool interlocking parts.
It starts to show off a lot of the ingenuity that they went through in order to design these. I mean,
so good.
One of the things is these here, they can collapse, and they don't, and then they come back out, but they don't ever fall apart.
Yeah.
Like everything's solid.
Right, and it also has some plastic pieces, so it gives you smooth motion for that string. The string is curled up, and there are rubber bands in here, the base here, that give you a little bit of resistance.
Right, and the illusion is that you can turn the crank and it affects the string, but in fact, like the string you never change the length of the string using that. It's all just wound up in here using rubber bands, and you pull it in and out. And it's just the illusion.
Mackerel.
Right, and the Joy-Cons are now plugged in. So what's interesting here is that it's detecting the rotation of one of the Joy-Cons for loosening and tightening, and then the other Joy-Con, it's detecting that rotation for lifting up and down.
Now, the lower you go, the better the fish are, and they're worth more points.
So I already love that when you wiggle the line. Oh, hold on, I gotta reel this mackerel in.
Isn't this illusion amazing?
Yeah, like the fact that the line wiggles along with it's spectacular. It's very good. 64 centimeter red sea bream.
You got a good fish.
So look at the wiggle of the string. It's very silly.
And it's not detecting anything here.
No, it's all the accelerometer.
The accelerometer
it's all
on
smoke
the
and
handle.
mirrors.
This transition from the real world to the virtual is, I know it's not virtual reality, but it was on par with some of the coolest things I've seen.
How did you have this much string in the thing? It just keeps going.
Well, you're not actually tightening string.
What? What devilry is this?
Catch that shark.
I think that's a tuna.
One of the cool things is if you look at the handle here, this clicking sound that you hear is just a piece of cardboard pushing in and clicking as the rotation happens. If I remove this piece of cardboard with the musical note on it, no clicking. And we look on the inside, this is everything that's providing the resistance. It's just a little bit of string and a rubber band, 2 rubber bands that tighten.
It's a very convincing illusion.
And again, Will, if you reel it in,
Yeah.
this isn't actually turning.
This is a video game of lies.
But we're not going to play all day. We're going to move over to the next Toy-Con.
All right, so this one is the motorcycle racing game, right? You've got 2 Joy-Cons, one on each handle. This one is used for rotation because it gets your throttle that way, and it's spring-loaded, right?
Yeah. Rubber bands.
Rubber bands. And while you don't actually press any buttons on the Joy-Con yourself, these 2 things actuate them. So this one is a brake.
How do they talk to each other?
And this one, well, it's actually pressing buttons on the Joy-Con, right? So like this one is pressing either the trigger. I don't even remember what
Z
it's
button,
pressing.
yeah.
The Z button.
Wow.
So and this is our starter. Over here is a horn, and that's all the controls that you need in order to run. And then all the turning is done using an accelerometer inside one of the Joy-Cons. So we'll start with that. We'll put the throttle down like that. You take off, and then you press the whole contraption into your belly, and then you lean in order to actually take the turns.
Oh, so you don't rest it on the tabletop?
No, I'm not sure that this kind of turning actually does anything. You know, this part, it's all about the lean.
Wow.
Right.
Which actually works well, especially in first person. You can change it to a third person view, but I'm a big fan of the first person. It just feels right.
They're smart enough to know that when you lean, you're probably going to be turning that axis anyway.
Right, right.
So it's going to just match those actions for a turn.
And notice how the throttle is actually mapped to the screen. So as I rotate, his hand does too. Same with the brake. When he pulls the brake down,
You got that 1-to-1.
it's pretty great.
That's pretty good.
You can. There's a whole course maker in here too, so that you can make your own courses by flying through the world, and that lays track behind you, and then you can go and race it.
It still is a pretty simplistic racing game. This
It
is no
is.
Mario Kart or even Excitebike.
Well, part of the problem is there's no multiplayer whatsoever.
Yeah.
So you can't race against other people who have done this or share your courses.
Oh, bummer.
That would be a cool thing for them to add.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it looks like you have all the controls you would need to play Mario Kart with this, though, too. So, yeah, maybe one day.
So with our next Toy-Con, the house, this actually uses a functionality the other previous ones don't. The camera, the IR camera with stickers. This is super cool. These little widgets, we have 3 of them. They each function differently. This one, for example, is a key mechanism.
Spring-loaded.
Spring-loaded with a rubber band.
Cool.
This one is a spring.
It's a plunger.
Literally,
Yeah.
and that plunger doesn't have a rubber band, actually just uses the tension of folded cardboard.
Wow.
Pretty neat. And then the last one is a crank. And like the fishing rod, also has a clicker for sound.
Most of the complexity of this whole unit is probably in these contraptions you just described. Not so much in the big house itself.
The house
right?
seemed pretty simple.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, all the house is a place for the display and also a place for the controller with the IR camera to look at the places where you put the widgets.
And it only uses one controller, so that IR camera actually sees all 3 holes.
So that camera on this one Joy-Con, the IR camera, looks in this entire cavity and can see arrangements of the IR reflective tape, which is different for the widgets on 2 orientations. On the side, you can see they're different. This is 2 stripes, this is 1 stripe, and also on the bottom, the arrangement of these triangles.
So the camera only sees one or the other based on whether you put in the bottom hole or the side hole, right?
Exactly.
And it knows right, left, and then bottom.
And up and down, exactly.
That's very cool.
Which means for these 3 widgets, you can plug them in to the sides and the bottom in any order or just by themselves, and that's going to activate a different activity in the house.
Wait, so that means there's 3 times 2 times 1 combinations of potential activities. So there's 6 different 9 configurations.
But also any different order.
Yeah, any combination, any number, and any position. So there's
so if
a
you put them in
lot.
different orders, different things happen?
Different things happen.
This is a discovery game, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of combinations, and the joy is in finding out what the different combinations do.
And there's a meta game in terms of trying to raise or keep this little creature alive by having it do activities, finding it food, cooking the food. But for example, if we put one of these on the side
That looks like a light switch.
that pops in a faucet,
What?
and yet when we put it on the bottom, it then becomes a grabber.
That is very cool.
And then if we decide to put more items, like this spring on the bottom, that pops up. And then you're also combining it with the accelerometer built into the Joy-Con, so you have other modes of interaction. Tilting it side to side, for example, or also touching the screen. Like all of these things are combined for this little playhouse, which while it's a simple game, it's just different ways of interaction. You're basically building controllers.
Nice job.
I get how these would work in the bottom, the two rotational ones, but this one works in the bottom, and all it sees is this getting slightly bigger.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised that it can actually see
I
that.
guess, yeah,
Because it's only seeing it from the top, you know?
That's bonkers.
That's pretty neat.
Very, very cool. That's the house, and then we have one final Toy-Con. Let's bring it over.
All right.
Finally, with the variety kit, the Toy-Con piano.
Easily the most complicated.
Yeah. Now, we thought there would be some mechanism for rubber bands or something on the inside for the keys.
You have 13 piano keys, all of which are articulated and move.
Yes. And it turns out these keys, I'm going to take one out right now.
They're not connected to anything.
What?
Nothing. Yeah.
They just float?
They float. Just like the other, the house, you have these reflector strips. And reflector strips are all the same across them, but they look at the image of the whole line of them, and they're hidden behind a bar. And when you press them, they pop up, and so it sees the light.
And it's all read by a single Joy-Con back here. It reads all 13 keys, plus more.
Yeah, and the bounce back you get is, again, cardboard tension.
Just the cardboard tension. Wow, that's bananas. This seems like this and the fishing thing seem like the coolest of the Toy-Cons to me.
Just from a mechanical standpoint?
Yeah, just from a mechanical standpoint.
And in terms of the gameplay standpoint, yes, you have 13 keys. You can do, one scale.
But you can play all of them at the same time. Like when I saw this thing first revealed in the commercials, I said, how many of those keys can you actually play simultaneously? You know? Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Wow. So does it have like synth stuff too? Can you like record a beat track and then play that back and play on top of it?
I don't know about the layering, but recording is something you can do. So there are actually additional controls. Everything here has those IR reflective strips, including a record button, a play button, and there's an adjustment button here. So I can press this.
Little bend.
Piano whammy bar?
Exactly. In addition to that, you also have widgets. So there are 4 of these little widgets, again, each with a different arrangement of the reflectors. And some of these stickers are already falling off a little bit.
Bad sticker application, Norm.
You put it here and it changes the tune. So
Changes
right
the
now,
instrument.
We have cats.
Oh, that's
But
like music to my
you
ears.
can rotate this, and that maps like an analog 1-to-1. It must have I think that just is the echo.
Yeah, there you go.
I've always wanted a cat piano, Norm.
Yeah.
You have cats. You got... Oh, this is the cool thing.
This is the weird one. Like, this doesn't even have a number.
Right.
It's just this mysterious bullseye. And we didn't even know what it would do. We plugged it in. It turns out it stops playing through the speaker, and it makes music using the frequency vibrations of both Joy-Cons.
The HD rumble.
Yeah, it's not super loud, but it actually matches the note.
Yeah, and you can even bend it with the pitch bar over here. It's wild.
There's definitely a sweet spot for the rumble. It
Yeah.
seems like the lower and higher are bad, but the midtones are okay.
Yep.
It's still, but it's bananas that it works though.
This is engineer whimsy.
Exactly. Here we go with a chorus.
That's my favorite.
That's amazing.
And then one final feature is you can also make these cards that you plug in that have the reflectors, and then that actually lets you load different music.
Like literal punch cards.
Exactly.
Well, you can also, we haven't tried this with this one, but we learned at the event that we went to a couple months ago that you can draw half of a fish,
Yeah.
like a silhouette of half of a fish, and scan it using this camera button.
Right.
And then that fish will go into the fish tank in the fishing game.
Right. All of that because of the power of that IR camera in the Joy-Con. It doesn't just read IR light, but also reads just different types of imagery.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. This is exceeded all expectations.
Yeah. Again, not too difficult to put together. It holds up fairly well. Not perfect. Like, I wished these keys were a little more stable, but surprisingly well designed. The instructions were very easy to follow.
So one of the questions I had is what happens when the cardboard wears out? Because this obviously isn't going to last forever, especially if you put a small kid in front of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're selling replacement cardboard. It's much less expensive than the game, so you don't have to spend $70 to replace just the piano. Seems like it starts at like $3 or $4 for some of the kits and goes up from there.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see what the maker community puts when they get their hands on this.
That's right.
Like, you'll be able to hopefully 3D print your own replacement parts that are a lot more robust.
There's no reason you couldn't laser cut this out of thin ply and recreate this entire thing.
Yep. Well, that's it for the variety kit. We do have one more thing Will was working on, which was the robot kit.
Yeah.
Let's get a quick demo of that. Will has turned into a robot. All right, Will, walk us through exactly what you have on you.
So I have a backpack, and then I have straps on my feet and things that I hold in my hands, and those are all attached to strings that go back into some weighted droppers that are just in little channels that go up and down in the backpack. And those actuators have the stickers on them, the IR stickers we talked about before, that the Joy-Con watches to know when I'm moving my right arm, when I'm moving my left arm, when I'm lifting my leg up, when I'm lifting my other leg, when I'm crouching, when I'm making a Y, all sorts of stuff. And I can play around and drive like a robot game.
How does it know when you crouch? Because the leg lines get shorter?
Because the leg lines get shorter.
Yeah. that's pretty ingenious.
So the default
it's very
position
clever.
is pulled up.
Straight up,
Yeah.
hands like in front of you at the chest, and then when you want to punch. So the game that comes with this is a punching game, basically. You like walk around, you destroy a city, you punch a bunch of alien spaceships. You can get really big, you can transform into a tank, you can fly. There's some other stuff that we kind of don't have to get into because it's a little bit fun to figure it out on your own.
It kind of is doing some IK, some inverse kinematics for four linear variables. Give it a posture for you.
Well, it infers the position of your limbs based on the length of the strings.
Right, but in some ways that's actually more information than the hottest VR headsets get.
Oh, it's as somebody who has spent a lot of time making VR legs look good.
Yeah.
The effect is stunning, right? Like it is as effective as the Vive trackers with none of the occlusion problems you have by putting Vive trackers on your feet. The only problem, of course, is that you're standing in front of a TV or in front of a Switch, as we are here. So when you turn your head, then you're suddenly not looking at the screen. You can't see where you're punching.
Right.
So in order to steer, you use the Joy-Con that's on the helmet. And when you tilt your head side to side, that's how you steer and control. So you tilt forward a little bit to fly forward. You tilt side to side to fly side to side. And you just walk to walk.
You have to imagine at some point in development, they imagined putting the Switch on that headset, right?
Look, I'm going to go ahead and show you something. The hole in the viewport on the game and the hole in this, it's the same size.
Right. So with the right optics, you have to imagine maybe.
I mean, I want to believe that this is Nintendo's ultimate VR play.
Yeah.
I also kind of don't want to believe that because I think it might be bad. But as it is right now, you get a really good kind of, it's not VR, but it feels like VR.
Right.
Right? Because like when you're walking around, I'm looking first person out of the robot and I'm punching stuff. I'm tilting my head.
And everything you do with your body is mapped in some way.
Kind of. It's inferred. It's not great. But look, I'm
Right.
walking. I'm walking through the city. If I want to get huge, am I going to get huge?
Are you flying that way? Oh,
No,
you may have to charge up to get huge,
You
right?
fly by doing this, and I can fly around. And like I can stomp some buildings. I can stomp some aliens.
And what does this do?
This moves me from first person to third person.
Gotcha.
So when I have the goggles down, I'm in first person. When I have the goggles up, I'm in third person. I can see what I'm actually doing. Now I'm going to get gigantic. Do I look cool?
You look very cool, Will.
Okay,
I mean, there are a
good.
ton of mini games to unlock more features for the robot. Of course, there's some tuning here. What I love is that in a previous generation console with motion controllers, we would have put the controllers in his hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Like we would have put two Wii controllers in your hands, and that would have got you some rotational tracking. Here, all you're doing with your hands is moving that linear signal up and down.
Yeah. That's true for all of these. All
Yeah.
6 of these builds, you never once touched the controller directly. I think that must have been a design principle heading into this.
But
Yeah.
so unlike like a VR thing where we're actually tracking the position of the controllers, when I punch out like this, when I punch down, it doesn't know the difference between those
No.
two because
Right.
of the way it works.
Right.
So I'm basically just using Wiimotes in my hands to punch.
Right.
But this feels so much better. It's really loud though. Like if you listen to it, like just
Yeah.
those little boxes inside there that slide up and down make a lot of noise.
They're also a little bit of a haptic feedback, aren't they? You feel like a robot.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you feel the movement.
Yeah.
You feel the weight. It's a really satisfying thunk when you get to the end of that line.
Right.
And it's adjustable for different size people. This is important to note too. So it comes built in with coils on the thing. You wrap it around, and when you get to the length that you need, whether it's for a big person like me or a kid, and then you lock it off just by hooking it through the thing. And then you can do the same thing on the feet as well. as well as the shoulder straps.
So I noticed there's holes in the back of the backpack. What are those holes for?
So where are those nuts? So those nuts, I think it's the same ones. I didn't actually build these because it's a later stage, but I think if you put those in, then you can change the design of the robot on the screen. So you can put different heads on, you can put different arms on, stuff like that.
Okay.
Other widgets that the
we
IR
could try it. I haven't tried it.
But
put it in and see.
these are obviously the piano ones. They may not do anything. You may have to build the actual robot. So the robot comes with these same kind of nuts?
Yeah, you build the exact same kind of nuts, it looked like. I didn't look to see if the pattern
Just a different IR pattern.
I look cool when I'm doing this, right?
Uh-oh. So we've already had one fall apart just by inserting it, but I guess they go right back together. I do wonder about the longevity of these cardboard parts.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they let you buy new ones without having to spend $80, I'm kind of okay with it.
But I already spent $80. I don't want to buy new ones. So that's the only concern. But I have so many games that my kids play that they play for a few days and then they collect dust anyway.
That's it.
So
that's kind of the way
maybe
I
it's a
look at it.
non-issue.
And the nice thing about this is if you don't want to, when you get to that point, you don't have to keep it around. You just chuck it in the recycling and get another one later.
Set on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, with both these, I think the value is really in the variety pack. We got 5 mini games. We're actually just scratching the surface on both these kits. We're not even diving into the light programming you have, some of that customization.
Yep.
But in terms of build time, we're building a lot more with the variety pack. And the robot pack, it's more full body.
I think the robot pack is number 2 for a reason, right?
Yeah.
The variety kit is number 1. There's a nice range of projects and differing scales of difficulty. This was pretty hard. Like I wouldn't put this in front of a 6 or 7 year old.
The box says 6+ may need adult supervision. I'm pretty sure that's a little generous.
And I think if you're not well over 4 feet tall, you're gonna have a hard time with this.
But we've had a lot of fun. I can go fishing. You can go robot boxing.
I mean, when did I get to robot punch last time?
That's right.
No, I think these are absolute genius. I can't imagine any other company doing this but Nintendo.
I'm flying.
I love that they took a shot on something that's totally out there and right in line with my interest as somebody who likes to make things and build things. Thinking about the engineering that went into this is half the fun.
Building this gave me a lot of the same feels that I get when I build a really cool Lego kit or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was very neat.
And there's still plenty of cardboard left in the box, things that we haven't even popped out yet. Room for expandability, room for customization. Like I said, we barely scratched the surface in terms of the light programming that you have here. That's all stuff we'll explore in the future. But thank you guys for watching us put together the Nintendo Labo first 2 sets. Thank you, Will, for joining us today.
Of course, thanks for having me, guys.
And we'll see you guys next time.